can call it to order.
Good evening. We'd like to call to order our zoning review board meeting.
Before we get started, we'll just note for anybody who is on the streaming YouTube page that we will not have video this evening due to a technical difficulty, but hopefully you will hear the voices of the zoning hearing board and any applications.
If we could do our pledge to allegiance.
I'll go into solicitor announcements.
We have solicitor announcements right now.
Good evening, everyone. We'll first announce that the board met in executive session before this hearing this evening to discuss questions of law related to this evening's applications. Furthermore, for everybody's benefit, there are two ways for you in this room tonight to participate in the hearings that will take place this evening if you are not an applicant. The first is the most common. At the end of each application, we will put a call for public comment. At that time, it's your opportunity to come forward and make a statement in support or in opposition to the relief being requested on a particular application. If you feel that you are particularly affected by an application, you can request what is called party status, and we will ask for that at the beginning of each new application this evening. Party status will allow you to participate more fully in the proceedings, including offering your own testimony, cross-examining any witnesses presented, providing your own testimony, I think I said that, and exhibits, receiving a copy of the written decision, and you will have the right to appeal the decision if you do not agree with the board's determination. If you are going to request party status, there are forms at the front of the room by the door that we would ask that you fill out and turn in when we request for party status. That way we know your name and that we know you have we have the ability to contact you. And I believe those are all the announcements for this evening. I'm going to move into the first agenda item. So before we hit the agenda of for this evening's hearings, we do have our first agenda item is the decision for application 11-2 of 22. In order to accomplish that, we're going to, our chair is unable to be physically present with us this evening, but we're going to have her phone in to participate in the voice decision. So if everybody can bear with us just a second, I will get her on the phone. Hi, Erin. I'm going to put you on speaker in the meeting room now. All right, we have Erin McPherson on the phone participating.
Hi, everyone.
So this is application 11-2 of 22, the application of Golden Mermaid Inc., Kiteville Inc., for 131 Copley Road in the R3 District and 7th Council District. To reiterate, this went through 2 hearings, and this was the agreed upon night that the zoning hearing board would render its verbal decision with a written decision to be issued by May 24th, 2023. The board will note that they met in executive session on this item to deliberate and discuss questions of law both last Thursday, have the date, the 20th of April, as well as before these proceedings this evening. The relief being requested by the applicant was an appeal of the zoning officer's September 8th, 2022 zoning enforcement notice, a determination that the use and configuration of the property is permitted in the R3 zoning district, determination that the use and configuration of the property for short-term housing solution for professionals is permitted by way of variance by estoppel, vested rights, and/or equitable estoppel. Determination that the use of the property constitutes a continuation of a pre-existing use of the property as a residential facility used as living quarters by unrelated individuals. An application for a variance from Article 3, Section 550-8 for use of the property as a residential facility for living quarters for unrelated individuals. And an application for a variance from Article 3, Section 550-8 to permit the property to be used as short-term housing solution for professionals. The board has asked me to present the following as to inquire if there is a motion among the board or from the board. We'll phrase the motion as follows. The appeal of the zoning officer September 8th, 2022 zoning enforcement notice is upheld. The zoning enforcement notice is upheld. The determination that the use and configuration of the property permitted in the R3 zoning district is denied is that it's not permitted. Determination that the use and configuration of the property for short-term housing solution for professionals is permitted by way of variance by estoppel, vested rights, and/or equitable estoppel is granted as a variance by estoppel. Determination that the use of the property constitutes a continuation of a pre-existing use of the property as a residential facility used as living quarters by unrelated individuals is denied as that it's not permitted. Application for a variance from Section 550-8 for use of the property as a residential facility for living quarters for unrelated individuals is denied. And an application for a variance from Section 550-8 to permit the property to be used as short-term housing solution for professionals is denied. Based on those representations, is there a motion from the board?
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Chair, do you want to call the vote?
So moved.
Yeah, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there any nays? Seeing none, it's a 3-0 vote. The determination is that this use is permitted by variance by estoppel. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll let you go.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right. That completes 11-2 of 22.
Thank you.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Take care.
Madam Chair, we can move to our regular agenda.
Okay, we're going to proceed with application 12-1 of 22, application of New Hope Property LLC for a variance for section 558 A and 550-21B to permit multifamily residential in the C1 zoning district. A variance for section 558B to permit two principal uses on one lot. A special exception pursuant to section 550-33C1D to use the transit access credit to reduce the required parking by 11 spaces. A variance from section 550-33A to permit fewer parking spaces than required. And a variance from section 552, table 5.1, to permit a maximum building height of 44 feet. This location is 600 Garrett Road, Upper Darby, PA, C1 Commercial District in the 7th Council District. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is David Chafkowitz. As the board may recall, we were here, I believe it was last month, where we presented the bulk of the application, presented the testimony with regard to the variances. And after the board deliberated a little bit, they asked this applicant to explore one item. And that item was, can you potentially engage in a lease for some additional parking for the proposed use? Because that seemed to be the issue that the board was most concerned with. As the board may recall, we have 13 parking spaces proposed in the first floor of the building. My client was successful in obtaining a lease for essentially the property next door for 10 additional parking spaces. And I have a copy of that lease, which I guess we can mark as an exhibit. I'm not sure where we left off, but
I think it's just marked as A2.
A2. And may I hand that up, Mr. Solicitor?
Yes.
With the presentation of that agreement, which like I said, provides for the 10 additional parking spaces to serve this particular development, I think we would move for the admission of our exhibits and rest our case at that point, unless the board had any other questions.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions from the board then. Oh, I will note since Ms. McPherson is not present this evening, our alternate has been seated, Mr. McIntyre, who has reviewed the transcript from the previous hearing and will participate in the rendering of a decision on your application this evening.
That's great, thanks.
Hi, sorry I wasn't able to make it last time. So I just have one quick question regarding some of the arguments that were made at the last hearing. What is the expected market rate rent for these new units? And do you have like that number with you tonight?
That's a great question. As I sit here right now, I'm not sure we know what the market rate rent is, but I would imagine we're proposing these all as one-bedroom apartments. That I got to believe that I don't know the market that well, but it's going to be brand new, top of the market, so I would hope it'd be 1,800 to 2,400 a month kind of price point, but I don't really know the market as well as I would for some other areas. But like I said, being new, being a very creative design, as the board saw last time, that the applicant is going to be investing a lot of money into the site and will maintain it as a first-class property.
So just for clarification purposes, and I want to make sure it's clear on the record, there are 27 one-bedroom units proposed, right?
Correct.
And there are 13 parking spots beneath the building currently in its current design, and you're proposing 10 additional parking spots off-site for a total of 23 parking spots that will be available for residents of this building.
Correct.
Before any transit access credits, there's 41 parking spots otherwise required, but the transit access credits you're requesting would bring that requirement down to 30. So we're looking for a 7 parking spot deviation by variance.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm glad you could do those calculations because I get lost all the time.
Just wanted to be clear on the record.
Appreciate it.
And may I ask, do you have something in the works now for the additional 7?
Well, we do have a couple of other ideas. One of the things that we understand that there might be a possibility, and we'll explore that further with the township, to rent spaces in the municipal lot that was within walking distance. If that turns out to be necessary, I think that is something we'll definitely explore. I think what we're anticipating is with the 23 parking spaces available with 27 units, that we don't really expect that all of our units will have automobiles. But we would certainly accept as a condition is that if we find that we need the additional parking, that the applicant will take additional steps to reserve additional parking, or see if we can rent spaces from the township lot for overnight parking for those additional 7 spaces.
I had a degree of concern. When I looked at the property, I observed that there was what appeared to be a piping area that you might have used, or the property may have been used to pump oil into the area. I don't know if there's any underground storage that may be there. I would like you to make sure that the environment is protected in that.
No problem. As you may know, we're here as a owner in equity. We haven't closed on the property yet. But there is a land development process that this, as I understand, the project will go through. And we'll make sure as we go through that process that we present our environmental studies and reports, which hopefully will indicate no issues. So we don't expect any. Nor do we expect this use to in any way exacerbate anything, so.
Likewise, the drawing that they showed indicated there might be some setbacks to allow a car to come up there. I looked at the land area and the concrete that's there, and there's right now casements for power grids that are taken there, and they have to vent the heat. So I don't know if that's going to be available.
Yeah, so we'll look at that as part of the land development process as well. I think one thing we were able to determine based on the discussion we had with loading and unloading, that there's going to be plenty of room in the interior of the site to allow for like the box trucks and similar vehicles to load and unload, for people to move in and that type of thing without using the street as an access area for that.
Thank
But
you.
we'll make sure through the land development, have Mr. Mill do his job and make sure we address those issues as well.
So I actually did have a follow-up question. So I know you just gave estimates for your market rate, so I'm not gonna
Please
go
don't
into
hold me to that.
details on it. But my one question was, one of the arguments that's being made for the variance for the additional floor is to offset the cost of the parking that has to be placed underneath the building. I guess my concern that I have initially is regarding the expected market rate, is that is offsetting in and of itself any hardship that would be endured. So regarding adding a second floor, or should I say, fourth floor, right? Fourth floor to the building.
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess, could you just explain a little bit more as to what your guys' calculations were for the reasoning behind using the, or adding an additional floor onto the building, obviously offsetting because you're putting internal parking and retail on the first floor. My concern is regarding the market rate for those properties. Are there any considerations for incorporating the residents that already live in the area? So ensuring that there's affordable units that are going to be implemented in this new building?
Right, and that question I can't answer because I don't know, what the market's looking for in terms of what would be affordable versus what would be market rate. It's an interesting question because I know it's a battle throughout the area about making sure there is affordable housing for everybody. I think what the interesting part about this building is because it's an adaptive reuse. The building inside, I don't know if you've had the chance to see it, or it's essentially was an old car dealership, and it's like a parking garage inside, and the work that has to be done to essentially restructure the interior is enormous. So it's not that will drive a price of the unit to a point where somebody can't afford it, is because the market is the market is. So we would only be able to do what the market will allow. But the fourth floor allows us to offset that cost of the interior renovation, a lot of the exterior renovations that we want to do in terms of making this a benchmark for future development of this area, as was discussed, I think, by the township manager or the administrator last month. So this is really an opportunity for an economic spark for this area. So that was one of the other reasons. It gives us that ability. Not only, it's not about the rents per se as much as it is about to have some more units so we can offset what would hopefully be this really beautiful building on the corner and be that benchmark for the rest of the street.
Are there any other questions from the board?
I have none.
Okay. We'll see if is there any public comment this evening on this application? Sarah, you can come forward. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself. For the
Hi,
record.
good evening, everyone. Justin Cohen, 7218 Brent Road, Upper Darby. My statement would be, if I'm not allowed to ask questions, I would just like to ensure that whatever deliberations take place take into consideration, of course, the parking and the ratio of the amount of units relative to parking spaces, taking into consideration if there will be any on-site staff, management, maintenance, and if so, where will they park? If there's going to be retail on the ground floor, which I heard a possibility, where will the customers park, or is it expected all to be foot traffic? And then what is New Hope's vision, if you will, to be a responsible neighbor? And I would piggyback on Mr. McIntyre's concerns about being affordable to the socioeconomic class of our community, specifically with regard to veterans. Will there be any designated units for veterans or disabled veterans? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment on this application? Seeing none, anything further from the board?
No.
Okay, then we'll move the exhibits into evidence, A1 and A2. Would you like to make a closing?
Just in closing, I just wanted to thank the board for the time that they took last month and obviously with the questions today to really analyze the project. And I hope you see it the way we see it, the way the township administration sees it, as a real chance to spark something in this area and create a beautiful project for the community. So we appreciate your time and appreciate you listening to the presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Would someone like to make a motion at this time?
I'd like to make a motion to approve it, subject to the discussion that changes.
I second that motion.
So just so we're clear for the record, the motion would be to approve a variance from section 558A and 21B to permit multifamily residential, to permit from 558B to permit 2 principal uses on 1 lot, a special exception pursuant to 33C1D to use the transit access credit to reduce the required parking by 11 spaces, a variance from 33A to permit fewer parking spaces than required, a variance from section 550-2, table 5-1, permit a maximum building height of 44 feet, subject to the conditions that the applicant maintain the lease for 10 off-site parking spaces as presented in Exhibit A2, and that the applicant investigate and perform any applicable remediation regarding the prior use as an industrial property as part of its approvals. Is that accurate?
Yeah, would they continue to try to get the additional 7 spaces?
Would you like to make that a condition as well?
Yes.
Yes.
That is that conditioned on the applicant's determination of need, or that you just want a continuing effort to obtain 7 additional spaces?
Go ahead, Tom, you have a question?
So my question is, if they are to go and continuously try to get those 7, are they then no longer requiring the need for the variance for the
No,
transit
there would still
access?
be,
Or are they still under?
it would still have the special exception for the transit access, but it would give a variance or a condition to pursue the variance, the further variance to reduce the number of parking spaces would give them the opportunity to move forward with the development while they attempt to obtain other spaces,
So
if
they-
possible,
So it would be then at that time, the full amount of parking?
with the transit access credit.
Okay.
So we'll add a third condition that the applicant makes a continuing effort to obtain 7 additional off-site parking spaces.
Yes.
And that,
I mean, this is me speaking from my own personal opinion. I think at this point that they have, I think they've done enough and gone out of their way to actually address the parking issue. Because it's so close to the transit, I do think the 7 might be a little unnecessary, given the fact there's 27 units and 23 parking. I mean, they can still pursue it, but I don't know, that's just my own thoughts. I just look at that. I think, yeah.
Well, the motion is out and seconded, so we should take a vote on that, unless Mr. Gwynn wants to make a further amendment. You want to proceed to a vote?
I would like it to proceed.
Okay.
I second.
Madam Chair, you should call for a vote on that motion.
Okay, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is on
On the seven,
additional, okay.
yes.
Nay.
Okay. And that motion passes and the relief is approved with those three conditions.
Wonderful.
2-1.
Well, thank you so much. Again, appreciate it all the
Yeah.
time.
You'll receive a written decision within 45 days.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we're moving on to 1-5 of 23, application of Innocent Onwubiko for a variance from section 550-15D, table 4.2, to convert an illegal triplex to a legal duplex with less than 3,000 square feet of lot per unit. Situated location is 32 Kent Road, Upper Darby, in an R3 6th Council District.
Before we begin, we'll enter the board's exhibit. ZHB 1 will be the application packet. ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be the proof of publication. I believe we did enter them the last time, but we'll reiterate for that. Before we begin, is there any persons in the gallery who will be requesting party status for this application? All right, seeing none. Mr. Onwubiko, you're here tonight. That's you. And sir, can you reintroduce yourself?
I'm Garrett Palvarento.
I'm sorry.
Garrett Palvarento. You need me to spell it? It's Garrett, and the last name is Palveren. Yeah, Verento.
Can we swear in both Mr. Onwubiko and Mr. I'm sorry, can you say it one more time for me?
Palvarento.
Palvarenzo. Okay.
Can you raise your right hands for me, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And I'll just ask this question first. You are Mr. Onwubiko's contractor?
Yes.
So, Mr. Onwubiko, are you okay with
Garrett.
Garrett? Thank you.
Sorry,
Apologize.
I've been the owner my whole life.
He'll be your witness and he'll present, is it the intent that he'll present the application for you tonight?
Yes.
Okay. So Garrett, you can proceed then.
Really what we're looking for is pretty cut and dry and pretty simple. When Mr. Onwubiko had purchased the property had 3 kitchens and 3 bathrooms in it. And he was under the impression that he was going to be able to get 3 separate units out of this. We know that that's never going to happen. And, we've we're looking forward to be able to at least get a second unit out of the ground floor level. So we're just really looking to be able to split the service. We added additional parking. We needed, I think, 4 spots. We added a 5th one because I'd spoken with Josh in zoning. So per the square foot, I think that 5th one kind of alleviated our parking situation. We're really only looking for a single apartment downstairs. We're hoping to be able to rent a single apartment. We kept it handicap accessible on the plans and everything. And the upstairs will be a 4-bedroom, and it's a 2.5 bath. Is what we're looking to get out of the upstairs as well. 1 kitchen, So we just want to have. He just wants the ability to be able to get at least close to the kind of money he was planning on getting out of the property. And the property's been sitting for some time now. We started the construction and we're fully permitted, but we kind of had to stop because we can't split the service. We can't continue at this point without having this variance. So, we're just asking that we're able to do that.
I just want to, I was trying to remember from last month, but I just heard you say to split the service, so the service isn't currently split?
The service isn't currently split. It's 1 meter and it's one water meter as well.
Okay.
We put in applications for everything, but this is where we're held up is through the zoning for the variance. I mean, not that it matters, I'm sure, but I noticed that there's houses across the street with 6 electric meters on them. We're really only just looking to get one additional unit so that he could possibly get $2,000 for, projected $2,000 for the upstairs and $1,000 for the downstairs apartment. Because at the $3,000 a month, it makes sense for him to develop the property. Otherwise, I mean, we don't know if we can, if developing this property makes sense at this point, because he's not going to be able to get the money back for rehabbing the property and for what the purchase price was. It just won't make sense for him.
Okay, that's all I have.
Other questions from the board?
I don't.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Nah, that was pretty much it. Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this application? All right, seeing none.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to deny this request because it does not meet the dimensional requirements
As far,
of the code of the 3,000 square feet. Is that correct? Oh, I'm sorry.
You're making a motion to deny the variance.
Yes.
Any further board comment?
Bob?
No.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
To deny it, yes.
so for what, for, I mean, I understand it's under the square footage, but I thought the additional parking kind of covered that.
No, well, the need is, it has to be, according to the code, it has to be 3,000 square feet for each unit, if I'm correct.
For each unit?
Just give me 1 second, I'm sorry.
This is only going to be 4,500. Way back when, people have modified their housing over there.
So let me rephrase that. I just needed a little more clarity. So the denial is based on, I don't believe there is a hardship, and the additional basement unit does not allow for the overall square footage that is required according to the code.
So, it's 1,000 square foot, the existing floor plan. We have 3 floors. So, I mean, if we were able to get the other square footage out of subdividing the floors, is that possible?
It's not about square footage of the floor, it's about the size of the lot and how
lot
much you're putting
size.
on the lot. Is there other discussion from the board on the motion?
I was just going to say, basically, it's because of the square footage of the units and the lots themselves and how they collectively accumulate into the total number. Since you're looking at 2, you're looking at about 3,000 square feet per unit, with that 6,000 square feet for a 2-family dwelling. In this case, because the lot is too small, the reason why these codes were put in place is because there's health and sanitary reasons. People need to have a certain square footage of living space in this specific zone. And as a result of that, and because there wasn't, and I believe that's correct, there's not existing units in this. This is new units, right?
Not
Well, they-
existing legal units.
The-
Not existing legal units. We can't grant like a variance based on the fact that it's already been pre-existing. Because it wasn't previously granted, if that makes sense.
So,
Hopefully I got that right. Maybe I got it.
so the fact that he bought it, and that it had 3 kitchens and 3 bathrooms in it, that doesn't matter?
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter?
So we have a motion. We should take a vote.
Like I said, I make a motion to deny.
Right, so now and is there a second?
There's a second.
Okay, then
All
you,
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
so your application's denied. You'll receive a
Okay.
written decision within 45 days.
All right, thank you very much.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Okay, let's move on. Our next case is 3-2 of 23, 3-2 of 23, application of A&P Home Properties LLC for variance from section 550-13B to allow a multifamily in the R1 residential district and a variance from section 550-33A to permit fewer parking spaces than required. This location is situated at 655 Drexel Avenue in Drexel Hill, in the R1 district, in the First Council District.
So the first thing we'll do is enter board exhibit. ZHB1 will be the application. ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. Before I turn it over to Mr. Mattson, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Yes. If I may, I have some pre-marked exhibits as well I'd like to hand out.
Just 1 minute. Are there any persons in the gallery who will be requesting party status for this application? Seeing none. Mr. Mattson, go ahead.
I'd like to hand out some pre-marked exhibits if I may.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So the applicant has presented pre-marked exhibits A1 through A9, including an A1A.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
So for the record, Mr. Solicitor and members of the board, my name is Joseph Mattson. I'm a member of the Pennsylvania and Delaware County Bar Associations. I'm here tonight representing the applicant A&P Home Properties LLC. I have one witness to testify tonight. It's Mr. Michael Pasillo, and he's present here to my left.
You can proceed with your case.
Thank you. So I'd like to have Mr. Pasillo come and take the stand, so to say.
We can actually, we'll swear them both in now, if they're both going to be testifying.
Can you just raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I
Can
do.
I have your names, please?
Michael Pucillo,
Spell it.
Pucillo.
And it's Joseph Anderson, Anderson.
So, Mr. Pasillo, you've given us your name. What is your occupation, sir?
I'm a tax accountant.
And what is your relationship to the applicant A&P Home Properties LLC?
I'm one of the owners.
Okay, you're a member of that LLC?
I am.
And what is the business of the LLC?
The one property at 655 Drexel Avenue.
So the LLC owns the property at 655 Drexel Avenue.
That's correct.
And do they own any other real estate?
They do not.
And how long has the LLC owned that property, if you know?
Since September 2020.
And for the zoning board, can you please describe the property located at 655 Drexel?
Sure. Currently, it's a duplex with an office in the basement floor. It's is that a good description?
Well, if I may supplement the
Sure.
record, it's basically a twin duplex with a party wall, is that correct?
That's correct.
And looking at the property from Drexel Avenue, you own the left-hand side of that property,
That's correct.
which consists of 2 units, and there was at one time an office in the ground floor.
That's correct.
And do you know when this property was built approximately?
1952?
Now, do you have any tenants in this property?
We do.
And where are they? They on the,
They are both in the residential units. Both residential units are filled currently.
and are they long-term tenants?
They have been, yes.
And is this a residential neighborhood?
It is.
Now, up until recently, the lower level of the property was used as a doctor's office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you know how long this portion of the building was used as a doctor's office?
I believe since 1957.
Members of the board, I'd like to call your attention to Exhibit A3, which I put into the record, shows the zoning history for this property. A variance was granted to use the office as a doctor's office at that time.
We'll take note of the exhibit, and the variance is dated November 18th, 1957.
And I hate to say this, but I'm older than the variance, so that's a pretty cool variance. And now the doctor's office is no longer, the doctor's office is now vacant, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And what do you want to do with this vacant part of the property?
We would like to convert it into a one-bedroom apartment.
And have you made any efforts to try to release to another podiatrist or doctor?
We have.
And what results, if any?
We had very poor results.
Do you believe converting this space to a residential apartment would be the best use of the property?
I do.
Okay. Let's talk about parking. Where do the present tenants, the ones that are there now, the long-term tenants, where do they park their cars?
They park on the street.
And what street is that?
Drexel Avenue?
And is there ample parking on Drexel Avenue to accommodate cars?
Yes.
Since you've owned the building, have any of the tenants that you have now parked in the rear of the building where there are designated parking spaces as indicated by the picture in A6, which I've handed to the board?
Since we've owned the property, the parking spaces were always reserved for the professional office space. The doctor used those for his employee and as well as his patients.
And how many spaces are there designated?
There are 4.
And so when the doctor had hours, his patients parked there as well as the doctor?
Yes.
When the office was closed, would anybody park there?
No,
Do you know if the doctor had evening hours?
he did.
So there would be patients coming and going during those evening hours?
They were.
And if you're permitted to convert this space to residential usage, there would not be as much vehicle or foot traffic as when the doctor was there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the tenants who are presently there could utilize those spaces?
We'd love to offer it to our tenants, yes.
As well as parking on Drexel Avenue?
And parking would be available on Drexel Avenue as well.
Now, is there any way this property is suitable as a single-family dwelling?
No,
If permitted to convert the space to a one-bedroom apartment, it would be in conformity with Exhibit A7, which has been part of the record?
yes,
And you had those plans drawn by an architect?
we did.
And if permitted to convert the space, will you abide by all township codes, including permitting obligations?
Yes,
Now, are you aware of the requirements for a property in an R1 zoning district?
I am.
Is there any way this property can meet those requirements?
It cannot.
And based on the lot size, there's no possibility to make this property conform to the requirements of an R1 district?
It cannot.
And this property was this way when you purchased it?
Yes,
By converting this lower level to a residential use, would that alter the essential character of the neighborhood?
not at all.
Would it impair the use of any of the adjacent properties?
It would not.
Can you think of any detriment a conversion would have to the public?
None.
And if granted with this variance you seek, represent the minimum variance that you need to afford relief?
It would.
Does the board have any questions of the witness?
The board have questions for this witness? Go ahead, Bob.
You said these spaces were only to be used by the people coming in with the doctor's office.
That's correct.
How did it have sufficient parking for the occupants of the first and second floor?
Since ownership, since we've owned it, the tenants of the first and second floor have always used the on-street parking. The parking spaces that were allotted to the professional office space were never used by the residential tenants.
So when you purchased the property, there was the professional office on the ground floor and then two residential units above.
That's
You
correct.
did not convert or do any work to create those residential units?
No,
And you also have found no record that those 2 residential units were legally created? either?
Yes. The building was built to be 2 residential. That whole neighborhood there, they have similar properties. They were built with those 2 residential spaces.
If I may, Mr. Solicitor,
Sure.
if you look at this property, it's a twin. It's got a party wall. And there's
Right.
First floor on either side of the party wall, and there's an identical property right next to it. The same thing, and they've been around since 1952 when these properties were built.
I guess it may be a tall ask, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Do we have any record that I'm assuming your position is that this multi-unit property was permitted, minus the doctor's office, which has a variance from 1957. At the time of construction, a multi-unit residential building was permitted in this area in 1952?
I don't know what the zoning was in 1957, okay? But apparently somehow this got kicked into an R1 district, so it's obviously non-conforming.
Well, it's R1 now, is what
Right,
I'm
right.
saying.
Somehow it's R1. I don't know what it was in 1957. I mean, the zoning code has gone through several changes since that time. I know that.
Sure. I'm asking, your position is that the residential units on the upper floors are legally existing since they
Yes.
were constructed?
Yes, that's my
And there's been
position.
no conversion? This is how the building was developed?
That's correct.
Okay.
Likewise, they wouldn't be required to have any parking spaces for the occupants of those. Is that what you're also suggesting?
Well, I mean, I don't know what the requirements were in 1952 or when they were built, but I know what the requirements are now.
But the-
Okay? The occupants do not park behind the building. They parked on the street. They park.
Change, could they not?
Pardon me?
They could change. People may move out, and others move in.
Well, we now have these 4 parking spots that were dedicated to the physician. Sorry. So which are now going to be available to the residents of the unit.
But I believe the position with the parking spaces is the same as the existence of the residential dwelling units, is that if this was permitted to be developed in this manner at the time without dedicated parking spaces to the residential units, the parking requirement for those particular residential units is therefore a legal existing nonconformity. The parking request here is for the additional unit that is being proposed on the ground floor.
That's correct. That's our position.
Kyle, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's just a clarification. So the doctor's office parking spots are what are being or suggested will be used for the new
Correct.
unit, the new residential. Okay. And this is just a quick question. It's kind of not related, but I guess it's a little. Just you were mentioning the parking on Drexel Ave. Could you describe where that is in relation to the property itself?
I have some photographs in the list. I gave you parking.
Because Google Maps is a little deceptive right now, that's why.
Exhibit A9.
Had no parking signs up there
Yeah, so,
on the street.
Pardon, sir?
It had no parking signs up there on that.
When I was there taking the photographs, there were no parking signs, and there were some cars parked on Jackson Avenue there, right in front. If you go to the front, on where these properties are. And I personally took those photographs.
Any other questions for this witness? All right, Mr. Mattson, if you want to continue on with your case. don't know if-
I'm going to rest my case with this witness. You have a long agenda tonight.
Oh, okay. So any other follow-up questions before we ask for public comment? All right. We'll move your exhibits into
Thank you.
to evidence. Is there any public comment on this application? Seeing none, would you like to go into executive session or we're going to adjourn into executive session briefly. We'll be right back.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. It's a great park, a great place to go.
Am I okay, Josh? Mr. Mattson, just a question for the board's edification. For the existing units, what is the bedroom count?
It's 2 bedrooms on each floor. Is that correct, Mr. Story?
So it's 2 and 2?
2 and 2.
Does that answer the question you had? And we took public comment. There's no further public comment, correct? Okay. If
Any more
someone,
questions?
if someone feels comfortable, someone can make a motion.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the use variance. Do I get it?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then for the parking variance, I would like to deny that variance.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
You'll
you.
you'll receive a
45
written
days.
decision within 45 days.
Okay.
45 days.
All right,
Have a
thank you.
good night, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our next application is 441 of 23, application of Aaron Z. Woodard for a variance from section 55044C1, table 10-1, to allow less than the required 5 feet from the edge of a common driveway, and a variance from section 55044C7, which requires freestanding decks and patios to be set back at least 10 feet from the side or rear property line. The location is situated at 307 Westbrook Drive, Clifton Heights, PA, and R3, Second Council District.
The board will, am I okay? The board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be the proof of publication. Are there any persons in the gallery this evening who are interested in obtaining party status for this application? Sir, can you please come forward for a second? Your name, sir?
Miguel Vasquez. I'm
And-
his neighbor, 309 Westbrook Drive,
That's directly next door.
right next door.
And you were requesting party status. Party status will allow you to present your own testimony, cross-examine them on their testimony, present any evidence of your own, and receive a written decision and the ability to appeal the board's decision. You understand that?
Well, I'm not against anything they doing. I'm here just to,
Oh, okay.
on their behalf.
So there's also the option to just provide a statement at the end, public comment. Is that more what you're looking to do this evening?
That's fine, yes.
When I call for public comment at the end of their application, you can come forward then.
I apologize.
You're
Thank
fine.
you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Woodard and,
Tanisha Betzel, his fiance.
okay,
Can you spell your last name for me, please?
Betzel, Betsil.
do you also reside at the property?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, can we have them both sworn in?
Please raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Hey, can you tell us a bit about your application, why you want to do it, and why it needs to be the way you're presenting it?
Just for leisure, I just wanted my backyard to look really nice. I did want the floating deck as an option to put back there, just to make me and my family a little bit more comfortable, just for leisure purposes.
And the size itself, I think you're proposing, what, 16 by 16?
18 by 12.
Sorry, 18 by 12. Misread it on the plan.
I think, hold on. I think it is 16 because I got a quote.
I'm sorry, I think
Yeah, I think it is 16. I don't have.
16 by 12? Does
Yes,
that sound
I don't
better?
have the measurements exactly in front of me right now. That's right. Whatever I gave the application to Josh is accurate.
And is it accurate that your entire backyard is 16 by 16?
Yes.
Is the size 16 by 12, is it necessary for it to be that large?
It's
What-
just the entirety of the floor of our yard area, which we would like to have that deck/patio area. Maybe I
I'm
didn't
trying to think of
understand
a
the
way to
question.
phrase this, yeah.
Okay.
So as you know, you're here because the requirement is that the deck needs to be 10 feet from the property line and 5 feet from the alleyway.
Yes.
So we're just trying to understand if the size of the deck is necessary for your enjoyment of it or use of it.
So
Go ahead.
So basically, the way my backyard is, it has the same as if there was a shed there. Right now, it's a non-use. So therefore, I have 2 kids. I wanted to use the area. I own my home, I don't rent. So I want to make an investment in my property, make it more appealing. So therefore, the area is like where the shed would go, is basically where I'm just putting a composite deck on the floor. That's it. So therefore, I can sit back there comfortably versus my feet in mud. It would just be it would be composite deck on the floor. So it would just go from the wall to the back area. That way, the whole yard would be accessed for availability.
And I'm assuming the size that you're proposing is the size you would need to seat or have your family use it properly?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to state to the
Do you
board?
have the pictures?
Yes, we have the application.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to state to the board?
No, not right now, no.
Questions from the board?
Yes, so you did say that the reason why you wanted the full length of your yard was so for more comfortability?
Yes,
And when you said there's a shed there already?
No, nothing.
No, I thought
It's dirt.
Oh,
No, I said it's if they're, you know how my neighbors have sheds. So
Okay.
instead of me saying I want a shed back there, I just want a composite deck flooring, that's it. So if the deck was smaller, somebody can step off into the deck. You can break your ankle that way. So that way I would want to flush from wall to wall to protect from injury. But it's not in blockage of anything. It's just, it would be of use, where instead of sitting in the dirt, I have a house that's a backyard area that has no use, where if that investment to put a composite deck has the flooring all summer long, my family could enjoy it, and it would be an investment. I think that it would inspire even other neighbors to say, wow, this is nice, and people would use their backyard area a little more.
And may I ask, is there currently fencing around anywhere?
Yes,
Like,
there's
I heard
fencing
you say
around the
something
yard.
about a
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, what was that?
There's fencing in, around the yard
In the
right now.
pictures.
There is, okay, so around the yard, there's fencing, so you're not changing the fencing?
No,
You're just putting the composite?
Right,
just the
there.
floor. Instead of dirt, it would be a floor. That's it.
And I think just for the board's edification, is the area that you're proposing this deck for actually separated from your home by the driveway?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So do you see, this is where they're proposing it, I think. Right in, so this is where they live. This is, so when you were saying that your neighbors have sheds, the area they're proposing is kind of like shed alley. Everybody just has a shed in this.
A lot of,
Most, everyone has a shed except for us.
yeah, yeah.
You
no.
see that? Everybody
Yes,
just fills that
yes.
in. Other questions from the board?
Sound like a-
All right. Should we have the neighbor come up for public comment then? If you'd like to give a statement in support or opposition, go ahead.
Basically, what he's doing is basically what I want to finish off, because I do have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And it's kind of lumpy back there. You know, I don't have a shed back there. I have swing sets, which I'm gonna get rid of. But the floorboard he's doing, I want to do the same. So hopefully I don't have to be here, because he already did it, you know? So, no, I'm joking. But anyway, I think it's a good thing, not only for them, but for everybody to see and say, wow, it's an upgrade, you know, so. I
Thank you.
mean, hopefully they get it. No problem.
And sir, just so you know that if you want to do the same thing, you'll be right back here as well. Any other questions from the board? Any other public comment, just to make sure? All right, it would be appropriate time for a motion, if you have one.
So I'd like to make an motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll
Thank you.
receive a written decision by email in 45 days.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, neighbor.
Shed alley.
We're going to proceed on to 4-2 of 23, application of Hafiz Safaraz. Forgive me of the pronunciation if it's incorrect, for a variance from section 55010, table 4-1, to allow less than the required 20-foot medium front yard setback in the R2 district. It's located and situated at 64 South Madison Avenue in Upper Darby, Residential 2, in the 4th Council District.
Yes.
Hello.
Okay, just 1 second. The board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application, ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be proof of publication. Is there anybody in the gallery this evening who would like to take party status for this application? Seeing none, can we please have Mr. Sarfaraz?
Yes.
Can we have him sworn, please?
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Are you testifying too? Can I have your name?
it's my brother.
Is he gonna be speaking?
No, we just,
No? Okay.
but he's the owner, like we both own this property.
That's fine. Only the person speaking needs to be sworn in. So you can explain what you're proposing here and,
Yeah, it's for the addition to the property by 15 by 25 feet. And I know it's it's supposed to be like 20 feet away from the fence, but the existing property is 15 foot away from the fence already. So we're just taking that wall, to build the rest of the, I can better explain on this paper, right, that. I think I did submit it and then. Okay, this is the 15 feet, which is the existing wall, and this is where we try to build. There is a basement stairs that we have every time rain, the water goes down. And there's a porch here, which also get wet every time it's raining. So this is where we're trying to do, it's the back end of the property. 25 feet and 15 feet this way. But this is already 15 feet, which is existing wall from the fence.
okay, you can go back to the podium now. Thank you. You can leave that. That's fine. We'll mark it, we'll mark the neon poster board as A1. Questions from, is this going to be enclosed space? Is it going to be part of the house?
Yes,
Not a patio or a porch? You're going to.
no, it's just gonna be closed wall and then,
Okay. Questions from the board?
So you said that currently there is a wall there. Is that a stone wall? Or?
Yes.
Okay, it's a stone wall. So you're going to bring that, I think it was what? Was it
25 feet up and then 15 feet
15
down.
on the side?
Yes,
Is that going to bump up to the stone wall?
yes, it's gonna be attached to the wall and on the both side.
Oh, on both sides?
Yeah, like 25 this way, and then when it turns to the rest of the property, it's gonna be attached to that.
Okay, I thought I had seen it. Okay, there it is. Okay. And then what will be on top of that?
For now, it's just gonna be what is the rest of the property is like, it's just the first floor the first floor have only one room, so it's gonna be attached, this whole part is gonna be attached to that room. So it's gonna be addition one room to that, yeah, it's gonna be level to that, There is nothing on the top of that, on the first floor room. So it's gonna be attached to that, and then it's gonna be just maybe probably around like 15 by 25 feet of room there. And it's gonna be exit room on the, exit door on the side, which is, we have existing door there. So once it's all closed off, that door is gonna be on the side, like where, the back exit.
So I'm wondering in my mind, maybe I'm not visualizing it properly, where you build, where you put that, is it concrete? Is it?
Yeah,
area that
it
you
is gonna be a
walk-
concrete from the bottom, and then it's gonna be the framing up.
Yeah, right, okay. Right, that's what, okay. So with that addition, my thought is future out, do you think you would ever want to build above that? That's what I was thinking, if it's,
Yes, but not right now, because it's
Not right
it's
now,
about the
okay.
budget thing, like I'm just trying to do this part, and then,
No, I was just
because we
wondering.
did talk to the architect about it, like if we want to build in the future, say you can build, what we are doing at the
Mm-hmm.
base, it's good enough to build anything on, it's strong enough, like, but not right now, we're just gonna do this part, and then maybe in future,
Okay. That's it for me.
I just have one clarifying question. So you want to enclose the existing porch and basically expand it out?
Yes,
To the existing end of the building that is in the
yes.
back? Okay.
Go ahead.
I just have one other additional question. You had mentioned in your application, impact of rainwater damaging the property. Could you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so where we're trying to build the wall, there is a stairs going in the basement. The door is like, open up this way, but not every time, but most time when it's raining, with the wind, the water does go down towards the basement, the stair gets wet, and if it's heavy rain, the water goes into the basement. So if we close all this up, it will be safe, like there's no water going into the basement and the porch area will be all safe.
But you could close off those basement stairs without building an addition, correct?
What is it?
I
I'm sorry.
mean, you could reseal or put a new door on those basement stairs to avoid that issue.
Yeah, but then it won't look good, like, see, like, I'm trying to, this whole house, like, 2 walls straight up, and if I just do that, it won't look good, like, it's just that this much area, it's just it looks kind of box area, but if I do the whole thing all the way at the end, the building, the shape looks good, instead of like just doing the stairs only.
What is going to be, what is the room you're constructing going to be used for?
Just as a bedroom, you could say. Because it's only, first floor only have a 1 bedroom, so it's going to be addition to that, like just in,
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right. Is there any public comment on this application? Okay, seeing none.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
Thank you so much.
Second.
Is there any? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Receive a
much.
decision within 45 days.
All righty, thank you.
As we proceed to 4-3 of 23, application of Michael and Nicole DeSanto for a variance from section 550-40B1 to allow an accessory structure to be constructed in the required front yard setback situated and located at 5051 Smithfield Road in Drexel Hill, R1 District, First Council District.
The board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB1 will be the application packet, ZHB2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB3 will be the proof of publication. Is there anyone in the gallery this evening who'd like to request party status for this application? All right, seeing none, I'm guessing this is Michael and Nicole DeSanto?
Yes.
Can we have you both sworn in, please?
Do you raise your hands? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. DeSanto, if you can give us an overview of your project and
So we live on the corner of Smithfield Road and Mansion Drive, and I'm sure as you're aware, we have a corner property. The 2 pieces of yard that touch a street are considered front yard. There's an existing shed on Mansion Road, an existing fence. We wanted to add to that shed on the hill, which is basically undevelopable. We've tried to grow gardens, we mulched it, it ran into the street. There's also an existing stone retaining wall about 2.5 feet tall. We've put in like water management to avoid destroying that previously. We just need the extra storage space. The fence code states that you don't have 2 front yards, it's just where your mail is delivered. So I'm struggling to understand why it's the same with sheds.
I mean, a shed and a fence are 2 very different structures.
I mean, I understand it as far as building, but, there was an existing fence there as well. There's no other way for us to use that hill.
The hill wraps all the way around the property, all 190 feet of property, so we lose all of that square footage.
May I ask, is there a reason why you placed it right there versus?
So it's up against the existing shed. So, we built separate foundations. It does have a walkthrough to the existing shed. We did pull the fence down that was behind it, and planned to build the fence around it, along with any brush, curtain thing. I don't remember what you guys call it in the code, but
And this is already
yeah. So
almost completed, correct?
we didn't realize we needed a permit. It's only 84 square feet. But to my understanding, I thought anything under 120 square foot didn't require a permit. So we did submit a permit. It was denied. Requested the zoning variance to complete.
Did you put the original shed in?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
And that's also under 120 square feet.
I just, we're going to make a distinction between zoning and building code. So I don't know if the building code requires the 120 square feet, but an accessory structure is an accessory structure under the zoning code. It doesn't matter how big it is, as long as it has, walls and a roof, where it doesn't matter. The extension, could that have been placed on the other side of the existing shed, or?
So there is like a sandbox next to the shed that doesn't allow us to place it there with like our 4-year-old, 2-year-olds playthings. And then in front of the shed is where we have like a swale. We actually found out today from like existing residents that there used to be a stream between the houses. So water runs horribly there, so we didn't want to put it there as well.
Other questions from the board?
I'm sorry, you said there's a stream that runs on the other
So it's
side?
not there anymore, but like one of the neighbors who we spoke with today, I guess is an original neighbor who said that there used to be like a little tiny creek that ran back there that has since been filled in. But the way that the water runs through the houses when it rains, it's like a natural swale, I guess. It just runs under the shed, originally under the shed now. It's diverted.
So it's under the first shed?
So it was not under the first shed. It actually went around the first shed to the corner, but the way it comes in directly in front of the first shed would puddle, and it would go like, there was a gully that had formed where it would run to. Actually, the gully's still there. If you want to go see it, you can see where the water had run before.
That's okay. Okay. I have no more questions.
Didn't know if they had anything else. Then you can call for this. Is there any public comment on this application?
I have 10 letters of support from our neighbors who just couldn't make it.
Thank you. Did you want to go into executive session? Okay, we're going to go into executive session. Thank you.